Okay.
Okay, I would like to welcome Democratic candidate for Kenosha County Sheriff, James Simmons. James has been a Kenosha County resident since 2008. He has 17 years of experience, currently serving as a deputy on Highway Patrol in Lake County Sheriff Department. He is an Army veteran and has earned a degree in criminal justice. I do want to say that the other candidate was invited and chose not to respond, so James has about 7 minutes to speak, and then we're going to allow him to do some Q&A. So put your listening ears on and welcome James.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I do work out of Lake County, and I've been a resident since 2008, born and raised in Racine. That qualifies me for a cheesehead for life. And a lot of people say that, well, why weren't you an officer here? Where in early 2000 I did apply for KPD, and I guess I figured that I wasn't a great match for them, but Lake County Sheriff Office actually called me shortly after, and I went there and I excelled. I've been in corrections, I executed warrants, evictions, I've been on highway patrol, investigations, adult and juvenile, also in court security, like Ms. Brown said, Army veteran, 4-year degree. I got 1 year in my master's in criminal justice. I got to go back. I'm a little lazy, but I got to finish up. But at the end of the day, what spawned me into actually running for sheriff is because I'm a father of 2 adult children. Been married for over 25 years. And I think now is the time to step up. And at the time, I was talking to David Best in 2019. My wife and I, we sold him a Maltese dog, and which we had a rapport, still have a rapport with the family for a long time. And I brought up issues with regards to body cameras. He didn't want those. And I said, well, it holds the community and law enforcement accountable. He said, well, if I'm not mandated by the state, I'm not going to do it. So then I told him, how are we preparing ourselves for the situation that's happening in Ferguson, Chicago, Baltimore, with the civil unrest? He said, it's not Chicago, it's not going to happen. So what I wanted to do was implement something where we have a rapport with the activists all the way to the constitutionists. Let's have that table where we can invite every group so they can be heard. Build a blueprint. Find out how we're going to make this better than what it was since 2020. My whole issue is that every group has something positive and something negative to say. I want to be that sponge to soak up what's good and squeeze out what's bad. Because I'm a moderate Democrat, I walk that line, and that's law enforcement. I'm pro-cop, not because it's by profession, not because it's by my job, it's by my life, These are the things that I do. I put my family to the side to help serve and protect. And at the end of the day, I think we need to go beyond just serving and protecting. We need to educate. Meaning that I want court in the courtroom and out on the streets. People need to be advised of their constitutional rights and their interaction with law enforcement. We can have a smooth transaction. And right now, we know over all the news that's going on, we know that it's the us versus them mentality dealing with law enforcement and the community. We have to stop that. I'm a paid professional. I must extend my hand first. Even if you don't accept it, that's my job. And I will do that as sheriff. Now, when we talk about a lot of issues, we have the opiate crisis. I want to work closely with that. I want to actually, for us, I want to create a scenario-based training and enhance it. It's going to cover every aspect of law enforcement, including mental health. This way we have paid actors, not co-workers, but paid actors that's going to put law enforcement in crisis situations, especially like school shootings, shootings out on the road, traffic stop, domestic calls. I want to make a 2-year veteran into a 10-year veteran based on the scenario-based training, not based on as he or she learns as they go. If a situation does occur and you have a 2-year veteran go into a crisis situation, we have to gamble on that experience, and most likely it's going to fail us. My goal is to make sure that we be more proactive than reactive. I want to be an advocate for law enforcement and its entities around it with regards to higher wages. because everyone is coming to law enforcement and to dispatch and whatever that's around law enforcement as a stepping stone, because they use this knowledge and they go somewhere else. I want you to start, and I want you to retire here. I want you to be considered a family, you know, and I understand that because being as a detective in all these other fields, I can go to my subordinates and tell them I walked a mile in your shoe, and I'm willing to help you and I'm willing to support you in your endeavors to be the best you can. I don't want anybody in my ear telling me that this person deserves it. I want to know on your merits, and that's why I'm running. I want to change the game. The game's been fixed for a long time, but people never had opportunities. And that's what we need to have nowadays, based on your merit and not who you are and somebody else that knows you. I want to make the difference, and that starts today. So my opponent is not here, and I'll tell you right now, if you want to look up my personnel files, you're more than welcome. I've never been disciplined. I've never been demoted. It's time for people like that to lead the people now, and never been caught up in any kind of scandals or anything like that. You have to lead by example for anybody else to actually take you seriously. And that's why I may not work here, but I have the best thing. Just like a coin, heads or tail. I live here. I know how, as a citizen, how I want law enforcement to treat me. And I work in Lake County as a sheriff deputy, and I know how to treat the people. Because as an officer with my uniform on or off, I'm still part of the community. And when I hire people, I want to make sure they're community orientated. If not, find you another career. And like I said, with the scenario-based training, I want assets out here and not liabilities. Because when we get sued, your property taxes go up, and that doesn't help anyone. Does that make sense? So at the end of the day, November 8th will be coming around the corner, and like I said, I'm not looking to raffle off any weapons, no firearms. But I am willing to create a gun buyback program, which will come in soon effect as soon as I'm elected. If you're a person that maybe your spouse has passed, and you have firearms in your house, you don't know what to do with them, bring them into the sheriff's office where we can give you some kind of monetary fee, for that, so you can actually have some money in your pocket. But also, we're getting guns out of your home that's possibly later on you could be burglarized. Now we got to account for those guns, and it could be an admission to some kind of crime. So at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we have a safer Kenosha County, and I'm going to be the sheriff of North, South, East, and West, because that's what we ask for your vote, and that's what needs to count. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Jen.
Hi. I think one thing that's important for voters to understand is that anyone could run for sheriff. I could run for sheriff. You don't have to be part of the Kenosha County Sheriff's Department. In fact, in Kenosha County's history, a former Kenosha News photographer had been elected sheriff. So really, and I think people think, it has to be somebody in law enforcement. It doesn't, but you are, so that.
Well, absolutely, because that's what some people say, oh, you're an outsider. And I said, well, I'm a resident here, and my profession is law enforcement, which is universal. I can take it anywhere. I can take it to Texas. I can take it to California, because these are things that you train on. Maybe a tweak of a policy here or either a law there, but it's generalized.
So my question is, as law enforcement is not just here, it's everywhere. It's a paramilitary organization. They're very close ranks, right? So what would you do, if elected, to instill confidence in your leadership with the current staff there?
I said I'll go to them because I'll go to every single department because I actually been a part of many variety divisions, and I know how to talk to the people and know where they're coming from boots on the ground. So you need a leader that been through the trenches, got the bruises to show, and willing to set an example so they can follow. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'll give you an example as a detective. I worked a case that was 6 years old. It was a girl that was acting up. She was 12 years old, but at the time the counselor found out that she was molested and all these other things as a 6-year-old. So it was the mother's boyfriend. And I went to him, he cried, said it was all lies. I worked that case for 6 to 8 months. He was supposed to come in for a VSA meeting, a voice stress analysis. He didn't have any power. He knew I had him. With no evidence, he went to the forest preserve that Monday and committed suicide. I am going to be strict, especially on crime. I'm going to be an advocate for tougher sentences for violent criminals. These things are important and it has to be paramount. The safety of our roads, not because just speeding, but road rage. A lot of people die from that. And I see that myself as I'm driving, and I try to nip it in the bud quickly. And then we just have to have simple common respect, because if I'm driving and I'm in my squad car, I see a funeral procession that's going by, I'm blocking traffic. That funeral procession demands my respect, and I want to make sure that they get there. These are the small things that we have to do to show the people, the public, that we are united and not separated.
Thank you.
That's it.
Other questions?
You know what? That's the same thing I have when I go door to door, because I done talked to almost 4,000 people, and I run this scenario, and I said, it's not my platform. I want it to be our platform. My platform revolves around us and not me. And that's why I said, once elected, this table right here is going to be an open invitation for people to talk about critical issues that's dealing with law enforcement. I can't fix your pothole, but I want to make sure that you're safe. You have a word to say that's going to be appreciated by me.
I'm going to ask you a question. Since there's an exodus of police officers leaving because of the temperature of the society, how will you recruit officers? By increasing their salaries, I heard you say, and how do you get that passed through our community?
Well, one is to be the advocate. I'm going to be going to the county board, and I'm going to be pressing that issue. And if it looks bad, if they continue to deny us, and then they say that we need more police officers, then that's going to put that on them. But at the end of the day, that's the goal: more training. And my thing is have more respectable officers. You don't have to respect me, but I have to respect you because you pay me. And that's the difference between people, because I'm before the badge. If I come to your house, I'm going to address you as my name is James. You already know where I work from because I have my uniform on. And the scenario-based training is going to take part of that, because you and I talking right now is scenario-based training, because I could be lippy to you. I could be a lot of things that you may not like, or I could be very courteous. These things are important for the function and the existence of law enforcement. It's not a us versus them. And that's what I'm trying to relate to anyone and everyone that I hire that comes in here. You must be community orientated, because if you're a sheriff deputy or a sheriff, you are still a public servant, and you have the ability to change people's lives with every encounter that you have with someone. Either you can have discretion or they can go bye-bye for a long time.
Another question? Which kind of piggybacks on Deb's about recruiting, and you mentioned training is really important, and I agree. What kind of training would you have for officers dealing with mental health issues? There's a lot of misunderstanding that happens with police officers and people with mental illness and people with disabilities. Like autism.
And that actually goes back into the scenario-based training, because one is I'm going to be having a partnership with even more with the health department, which they can have individuals that are disabled, whatever, or either dealing with a mental status, because I am crisis intervention, where deputy, and our job is not to diagnose, but to see that there is a problem outside of the normal realm. And I don't care if it takes that officer or that deputy 5 minutes to 2 hours, 3 hours to build a rapport, to have him where he can have the resources to go out and actually, be helped. You know what I mean? It's not for us to trick you, because if we trick you into that, the other officers that come in behind that person to deal with that same individual is going to have a harder time of trust. That's why I said time is pretty much unlimited when they're dealing with situations like that. And let's talk about the jail. Since I've been in the jail, I know that that's a hard job. A lot of people don't respect that position, but it's the backbone of the sheriff's office. That's our main concern. That is our main issue, is the protection and the supervision of detainees. And these things must come into fruition, because what I want to do is to make sure that we have people that, say for instance, they left, released, they became successful. We need to bring those role models back in here. We need to give a lifeline, a life preserver out to inmates that were released, and so they don't fall back in and the recidivism rate goes back up, repeat offenders. We need to be able to employ them as far as employment with jobs while they're there, and hopefully they can maintain those once they're out. So this way, less time to do other silly things, you know what I mean? And still being a pillar of the community, because everybody is should be given an opportunity to have a second start, regardless of what they've done. And I don't judge. I'm a Christian too, but I don't judge. And a lot of people, some people said something about the situation where Roe versus Wade, you know. And my thing is that I don't judge, you know what I mean? And my goal is not to be medical police. We got serious crimes out here that is sitting back on the back burner. And we need to, like the cold cases, you know, murders and things like that. We have to focus on what is paramount right now. Mm-hmm.
All right, any other quick questions? Thank you very much. One more?
I just had a quick question. I was curious about the guns that the sheriff's office would buy back to get out of widows' homes. I'm just curious what would happen to those.
It can either be dismantled or they could be auctioned off to a reputable gun business or whatever. So this can help increase the budget, you know, because it's gonna, some of the budgets, the programs that are in there, if they don't work, I'm getting rid of them. Okay, I'm gonna create some, and the ones that do work, they're gonna be enhanced. That's what we do. That's what you should do as sheriff.
Thank you. James, if you're going to stay a little bit, we've got a few things to wrap up in case anyone wants to speak to you personally. You're welcome to do
I'm here
that.
for the 50-50 too, so.